Hey, here we are again. Hello, Thursday morning.
You're beating the table already.
I'm already beating the table.
Marty,
I just finished telling Marty that I would try not to drum on the tabletop.
You got a half-inch rubber pad under there.
Yeah, it's come to my attention, and by my own observance as well, that I touch the tabletop and drum on the tabletop too often. So maybe we should just get me handcuffs while I do this show, man.
Don't touch what you used to touch when we did radio and nobody could see us.
Yikes, but I will strive not to hammer on the tabletop.
It's hard not to do it. It's hard. You get used to hearing the bump music and kind of playing along.
Well, and I do love that song. That somebody asked me the other day, what's that song that opens up your TV show? That is the opening strains of Make Me Smile by Chicago.
Mm-hmm. And that
Bill Profita's request.
Yep. That is the whole suite. It's on the album Chicago 2. And there was no Chicago 1 because the Chicago 1 was called Chicago Transit Authority. Then they got sued by the actual Chicago Transit Authority, et cetera, et cetera. But it's called The Ballet for the Girl in Buchanan. And it's 23 minutes long. And in the middle of it, you find the missive that many, many people have played at their weddings, Color My World.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just threw up in my mouth. Just
I was about to.
There's some great Chicago songs.
That ain't one of
my
them.
humble opinion, that's
not one of them.
One.
But you know what? Everybody's got to have some cheese to throw the rats.
Absolutely.
Got to have some cheese to throw the rats.
Glad to have you with us once again. It's Thursday morning. It's the 21st as we head on out of the month of May. And it's Memorial Day weekend this weekend, despite the fact that the last day of the month, the 30th, is a Sunday.
Yeah, because the Memorial Day, by federal law, I guess since the 70s, 80s?
It's the last Sunday followed by a Monday or something?
It's the last Monday in the month.
Okay, so that's why it is. It's the Memorial Day is actually a Monday holiday.
Yeah, I cannot remember when it's been that early.
So June 1st comes on a Monday, so...
No.
Yeah, 30 days. Okay, June...
First comes
now
on.
I'm confused.
June 1st will come on a Tuesday. If you said the 30th is a Sunday.
Yeah, I'm horribly confused now.
Well, who isn't confused about what day it is?
You know, there was a time, though, when I could see the calendar in my head, and I can't do that anymore. Because, drinking.
Yeah, drinking, and that's it. But anyway, I cannot remember a Memorial Day weekend being this early.
No, it's usually the last couple of days of the month, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you got? You got plans?
Well, Karen asked me yesterday, which was her birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
She said, well, we're going to...
Did you wish her a happy birthday for me, by the way?
I did.
God bless her.
And I will tell you what we did in just a moment. But she said, well, what are we going to do for Memorial Day? I said, well, it's like 2 weeks away. She said, no, it's this coming Monday. I was like, so I'm going to try to do something. Anyway, it was her birthday yesterday, and I told Michael Jetty and Ava, his lovely wife, who operate Maison Liqueur, that I would mention that we had a lovely dinner at Maison Liqueur. It is probably the truest version of a French restaurant you will find in our whole area, and the food is absolutely wonderful. And Michael, like a lot of restaurateurs, and Ava, his wife, they are worried about their future. And
well, I'm not saying the Maison Liqueur individual, any restaurant should be.
Mm-hmm.
Any restaurant.
And we're starting to see the dominoes fall on some restaurants.
How long had Rama been open, the Thai place over on Perkins Road?
40 years.
It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
The Rum House, which had not been around as long but was very popular.
Very
Rum House
popular.
on Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are where you are, what city you're watching us in, you've had one or two restaurants just go completely away.
Well, Michael was saying that, the restaurant group is a kind of tight-knit group. And he said there's a few more. He said, I can't tell you who they are because they're waiting for the right time to announce it.
Right.
But it would be a shame if we lose any more of our fine eating establishments from Acadiana all the way to New Orleans. I mean, think of all the wonderful restaurants there are in New Iberia.
Yes.
And there are some gems in like Morgan City. And Lafayette, of course, has got some wonderful restaurants.
St. Francisville has some wonderful places.
Lake Charles has wonderful restaurants. Mm-hmm. Yeah, St. Francisville kind of opened early, and they seem to be doing okay at places like the Francis.
The Francis is taking steps. They have 25% capacity like the rest of the state, but they've also got a huge amount of outdoor seating.
Yeah, they've got a patio that's bigger than our whole studio here, folks.
So the Francis is a place that I highly recommend. Ate there once. It's wonderful, and I can't wait to get there again. Gonna invite the family to come down from Natchez, and Marianne and I drive up.
Well, everybody drives the same distance that way.
We're all going to meet at the Francis and enjoy it. I just, that's something that we haven't embraced since the reopening. Marianne and I, we haven't actually been out to dinner yet, but we've got like this, like almost like a bucket list of the places we're going to hit as we get started.
Well, again, big patio, big outdoor dining is Bin. Rouge Creole, the way they've done their 25%, they really get a lot of use of the restaurant. They were very scientific about it as well. But again, to Michael and Ava, they are always such great hosts at Maison Liqueur. They say, please come and see them. They are open for business. And dinner, of course, was absolutely spectacular.
It really is a great place. It's like a real French restaurant here in Baton Rouge. Just look it up, Maison Liqueur.
We'll be back with you after this break on the Exiles. Stick around.
Taste the feeling.
Guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Red dress, you know, the one that's kind of gotta go.
Thanks, Chevy.
They like Claire.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Just kidding.
Hey, this hour on the program, and a few minutes from now, we're going to talk about a pretty controversial bill going through the Louisiana legislature. Not everybody has a strong feeling about it one way or the other because, let's face it, a lot of us, the oil industry doesn't touch us personally, and so it's not really on our radar. But what this bill would do, there are people, parishes, that have already spent years investing in lawsuits against certain oil companies and oil developers for the ecological damage done in their parish. What Senate Bill 359 would do is it would negate that and make all availability of lawsuit the sole purview of the state. Now, you know, like I said, it's not on everybody's radar, but of course, as you can guess, the oil and gas industry has strong feelings about Senate Bill 359.
Let me ask you this, Kevin, because I've not researched it as much as you. Would this bill be, as Barbara Norton said, radioactive, or the suits that are already filed?
I can't answer that question. I don't know when it might take effect. I think that the whole purpose of the bill is that the suits that have been filed already would be moot.
How can you do that? How can the legislative branch interfere with the judicial branch of government?
This is a question we may want to ask our guest. Gifford Briggs is the head of LOGA, the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, and he's going to have their perspective on the bill. As you might guess, I think that the oil and gas industry, the energy industry, is interested in having this. They don't want to be able to, don't necessarily want to have to defend themselves from multiple lawsuits from multiple coastal parishes.
But there's no guarantee of that. I mean, I think one of the questions that normally comes to mind is, does it matter to you who sues you if you're going to be sued? Does it matter if you get sued by Terrebonne Parish?
It matters to me how many lawsuits I have to defend
there's no guarantee that they're going to go away.
I don't know. Like I said, we're going to get Mr. Briggs' point of view on this. We talked about this a little bit with Roy Fletcher. And Roy makes no secret of the fact that he has affiliation with some of the coastal attorneys that have already been pursuing these actions in some of these parishes. So it's a touchy subject and one that tempers are high about.
Well, if nothing else, again, we hold the world and Olympic record for filing bills, and they seem to always come out of our Senate, although some do come out of our House, that are patently unconstitutional. But by the time it gets tested and works its way all the way through the appellate courts and perhaps even the Supreme Court, it becomes a great stall. Nothing happens. So that may be a part of the goal here, is, we know the bill isn't really constitutional, but by the time it's challenged, we've eaten up another 5 or 6 years of the clock on these lawsuits.
I don't recall hearing anyone say unconstitutional in voicing opposition to the bill. What I hear most of opposition to the bill is that so much time and legal energy has already been spent by some of these parishes to pursue these actions, and it just is wrong-headed to suddenly just cut them off.
Well, same effect, isn't it?
And of course, the other argument is, do we want to kick the oil industry when they're at one of their worst places right now? I mean, they are on the road back. The price of a barrel of oil is slowly climbing back up. But, I mean, they hit rock bottom. And that's one of the arguments is, do you want to kick them while they're down, or do you want to help them recover?
Let me ask you this. If, God forbid, you have to go in for heart surgery and the doctor commits egregious malpractice and botches it up, do you want me to go to your widow and say, Mary Ann, you really don't want to kick the medical community after they've gone through this COVID thing when their resources are drained, they're down to nothing?
Well, that's an interesting comparison, Bill.
Seriously. You did what you did.
I'm not falling on one side or another. I have voiced this on other radio programs with Roy Fletcher, and I voiced this on podcasts. If they said they would clean up what they messed up, then they should be held to their word. Now, whether it's the state that holds them to their word or a parish that holds them to their word, I guess that makes no difference to me as long as they're held to their word. They said they'd clean it up, and they haven't cleaned it up in some cases. And that's another thing we can ask Mr. Briggs. What has been cleaned and what hasn't?
I don't understand why the state wants to wrestle this particular goat. What's in it for the state to take control of all of these lawsuits?
I think that the sentiment against Senate Bill 359 is, if you give this power to the state, they'll do absolutely nothing with it. And this is the fear of the people who don't like Senate Bill 359, that they'll do nothing with it because we need the revenue that comes from a healthy oil and gas industry.
One thing is, there are a lot of people that are going to sue big business to have a cash grab. I get that. But if these companies, exploration companies and refining companies, sometimes they're both, are held to exactly what they said they would do in their permit, then there really shouldn't be a matter of lawsuit at all, and it shouldn't be a matter of who sues them. But see, I think, as you do, that if the state takes this power, then they can either A, prevail in court and sweep the money into the general fund and give pennies back on the dollars to the parish that was harmed, or B, pull the long game stall on it and a way of, quote-unquote, supporting the oil industry.
I feel bad being skeptical of how the state might handle such a thing, but I've lived in Louisiana for a long, long time and observed state government at work.
The question I have is the why. Why, if suits have already been filed, if they're going through the process, if they're suing on the basis of what's in the permit, Why do you want to take this away and get into it? What's your game here?
These are all questions we could pose to Mr. Briggs when he joins us in a few minutes here on the program. Should be an interesting conversation, and we're glad to have you with us. Remember, though, if you're catching us on TV, but you can't always do that, you can download the app and watch us on your laptop, your Chromebook, your phone. It's an easy download no matter what your operating system is. You just search in your app store, search Pelican Sports TV.
All right, more to come on Exiles TV. We hope you will stay right where you are. Back in a moment.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For Total Pest Control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
We're back. It's Exiles TV. Bill Profito over there, Kevin Gallagher over here, and soon joining us right here at Center Seat will be Mr. Gifford Briggs. He is the head of the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, LOGA. Mm-hmm. That's coming up in just minutes.
There's other stuff in the news. I hesitate to bring this up.
Are you sure you hesitate to bring it up? Sometimes he says that when he loves bringing it up.
No, I hesitate to bring this up. Because we have talked about it, we have made sport of it. Did anyone participate in 19 Thanks?
Anyone?
Anyone? Did you do it?
What, you mean you didn't want to go out on the 19th at 1900 hours, 7 p.m., and second line in your front yard or in your living room or your backyard for 19 solid minutes to show your support for those frontline heroes?
I don't.
Who comes up with these ideas? It's like,
Well, I know.
I got
by
an
the way.
idea. On the 19th, put a $5 bill in an envelope and mail it to this address, and we'll see to it that the money goes to people who need it.
I know who actually organized this whole thing. She's a good friend of Karen's and mine. I happen to disagree with her thought process on this, but we actually did some polling amongst people who are friends, neighbors, people who generally support causes that this particular person fronts or is involved with, and the answer was no.
Yeah. No, I have some dignity left.
But here's the
Let
deal.
me cling to it.
If you're watching and you want to take a mulligan, Kevin and I, before we went on the air, we think that there's something you could do that actually would allow people to hold on to their dignity and actually do some good. Why don't you organize a food drive for the food bank in your area? And it can be in Baton Rouge, it can be in Lafayette, it can be in Slidell, all the places where you can see this show. It can be in New Orleans. It can be in the river parishes. Organize a food drive, because the food banks are all hurting right now.
But let's make
bad.
it another virtual dance, though.
We're going to do what we thought with. Normally, when we have Mike Manning on, Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, it's the largest of all of these, 11 parishes. Mike says, look, I appreciate the food, but money I can turn into magic. Well, right now, the food banks can't spend money too much.
So they need the food.
So they need the food for immediacy. So here's what you want to do. If you want to make it cute, and if you want to have something attached to it that says South Louisiana, let's do a food bank money a food bank money dance. Let's get organized and have pickup locations, and to your canned goods that you give, and to your bags of dried beans and all the other perishables, the spaghetti. Tape a $1 bill or a $5 bill.
Yep. Instead of pinning the money on the bride, pin the money on the food.
Yeah, make it kind of fun and do some good with it. And you can keep your dignity intact. You will not have to dance around waving a snot rag, looking like you're being tased or that your nards are on fire. You can actually hold on to your dignity.
By the way, I brought one just in case we wanted.
Did you? In case we wanted a second line?
No, that's in case I have to sneeze.
Tomato.
Yeah. That's why I carry a handkerchief, in case I have to sneeze. Second line breaks out, I'm leaving.
In other news, graduation time.
I feel bad for graduates this year.
I do
They've
too.
been denied so much.
But there are a lot of people that are doing like parades and all that past the graduates' home. And we have a lot of high school graduates and college graduates where I live. And they put up a big sign for the various high schools and the names of the kids who graduated, and the various colleges and the names of the kids who graduated. Our neighbor's daughter graduated in mechanical engineering with an aerospace discipline and already has a job waiting for her.
Nice.
With Lockheed Martin on Project Lucy, which I believe is to go to Mars.
Well.
But she's got the job waiting for her. But I'm looking at all these graduations, and occasionally on the news you see, like, there's a nice thing Jim Bernhardt did. His son just graduated from Notre Dame. So some of these prestigious universities are having their graduation at the same time a lot of the parents who bought their kids' way in are coming to court. Isn't that poetic? In today's news, I found this quite interesting.
What you got?
Lori Loughlin and her husband,
plea deal?
Gianni Massimino, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, that's close.
Yeah. Massimo. Massey kissed, I guess, now. They pled guilty to charges in the college admission scandal.
How many hours in jail time will she get?
Well, it's going to
Remember her counterpart, Felicity Huffman, got 3 days or something like that?
Yeah, she got 3 days. She didn't get Martha Stewarted.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
If Joe Average had done that, won the Hollywood star, they would have been in for a year.
Joe Average wouldn't have had the cheese. I mean, if my dad wanted to pull something like this, I got $1.60. Can you get him into Northwestern?
Hey, maybe Mr. Lincoln can get her in.
You want to talk to Mr. Jefferson? Ah! But anyway, Laughlin and Giannulli paid $500,000 to get their daughters into Southern Cal as fake crew team recruits.
Yeah, they were on a scholarship for the rowing team.
Now, here's what's interesting. They'd been pleading not guilty for more than a year, and they actually filed a motion to dismiss the entire case 2 weeks ago.
And I said, well, okay.
The judge said, no. So, in their plea, she's going to get 2 months in prison, and he's going to get 5 months. She faces
I'm waiting for that word, that little phrase. Both words start with an S. Sentence. What? Suspect.
No. They got to serve it.
She's actually going to serve 2 months in
prison?
They got to serve it. I don't believe it.
Now, if there's good time or something like that, that'll count. She's got to serve it. She's going to be facing a $150,000 fine, 2 years of probation, and 100 hours of community service. Giannulli faces a $250,000 fine, 2 years of supervised release, and 250 hours of community service. Why are they going harder on him?
Well, I've read accounts that said it was more his idea than hers. But others have said, no, it's always the moms that do this. It's always the moms.
I'm seeing this guy, in his $5,000 suits.
He had the I think that he had the swing to make it happen more than Lori Laughlin.
Can you hear this, Lori? Look, our two daughters academically are bricks. All right, they're not going to get in anywhere good unless we pony up some cash.
Mm-hmm.
How much cash? Oh,
$500,000.
Half what? $500,000? I don't care that they're stupid. They can stay at home. But yeah, $500,000 they gave to this guy.
Well, it's just status too to say that my child is attending a prestigious university. It's more for the parent than it is for the child, I think.
Well, yeah,
well, where are you? Where are your children? My child is going to Stanford. What about your children?
That's become
community college. Say something.
Yeah. Yeah. What's he studying? Knife wielding, marksmanship. But I remember back in the day where I grew up, of course you wanted to go to Northwestern or Loyola or Notre Dame or University of Chicago. Of course you wanted to. But the only way you were going to get in there is if your parents were very wealthy and you were considered a legacy and they wrote the tuition check, or if you got an academic scholarship. And nobody looked down upon a kid who went to Illinois State or University of Illinois or Northern Illinois University. Now, if you don't get your kid in this area, if you don't get your kid into Auburn or Tulane or Emory or Rice or University of Houston or SMU or TCU or Millsaps or Rhodes, which is nothing but a finishing school as far as I'm concerned, you feel like you failed as a parent. Good friends, the husband is now deceased. He got pancreatic cancer, and it was quick. But he and his wife sent their daughter to Rhodes in Memphis. Now, the daughter knew why she was the mother knew why she was sending her there, to meet a wealthy husband, which she did.
MRS degree.
But she worked for me one summer as an intern, and I said, well, let me see your transcripts. First of all, they
She showed you her transcripts?
Oh, yeah. She was very proud. She had like 70 hours of issues in women's studies, African-American studies, Thai culture,
humanities.
Search for the meaning of life. Now, she is a junior at this point. She had no mathematics, no biological science, no physical science, only one true English class to this point, okay? And I said, what are you going to do with this degree? And they grant a bachelor's.
What are you going to do for money?
They grant a bachelor's degree with 108 hours. When I was at LSU, we all thought we were being tortured when they raised it to 122 hours. I said, what are you going to do with this? She said, I'm going to teach. And I said, well, okay. She had a lot of art history and things like that. And I said, you realize you're not going to teach in a public school? She said, why not? I said, you don't have any education curriculum courses. You'll be able to teach in a private school. So that's what she did. She got a job in a private school for about $18K a year at the time, teaching art. Mm-hmm. And I asked her mom, and I know I shouldn't have, because the idea of thinking about it, what did that education cost all in? And she said, well, not including the cars and the apartment and the food and the living expenses, it was right at about $400K.
Yeah! You're joking.
Made a hell of a deal there. Good ROI.
Yep.
$17,000 a year job. But she married the son of an oil guy.
There she goes.
So, and, I mean,
thank God for oil.
And she's a very nice kid. You know, I mean, she's an adult now. She got two kids of her own. I mean, she's very nice. But the thing these parents go to for their kids to get these meaningless degrees from these humongously expensive, universities is absolutely amazing. We will be back talking about oil and gas in Louisiana and a bill that's before the legislature right after this break. Stick around.
That's right, the Clarence Buggs Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita. He's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Back to Exiles TV. Glad to have you along with us this morning, Bill Profita, Kevin Gallagher. Hi. A reminder, the replay. Everybody's been at home, so you can watch during real time. I get that. But now, as we go back to work, the replay. Every day we're on live. The replay happens exactly 12 hours later. So at 10 o'clock tonight, you can watch the entire show again. And if you go to
set the DVR,
and you can also get the app in the App Store, Pelican Broadcasting, and it goes up on YouTube about 2 hours after we're done. So you can tell your friends, you can watch it again. If you think I said something stupid, it'll give you a great chance to look at the screen and go, "That guy again!" But anyway, we are now joined by Gifford Briggs, who is, I guess you're the president of LOGA, Louisiana Oil and Gas Association.
That is correct.
And you are a group that specializes in the oil and gas production in Louisiana, from the fields all the way to the refining, I would guess. And you lobby for them. You're an interest group.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a member-driven trade association for over 450 companies, and that's the large independents and companies like Chesapeake and the Haynesville Shale, down to mom and pop operations and family-run businesses with just 4 employees that cover the full spectrum of the energy industry, oil and gas industry.
I guess the first thing we ought to say is ask you what's going on in the industry with the impact of not only COVID, but also the impact of the dumping that Putin's government was doing and the Saudis were doing that drove the price of a barrel of West Texas crude negative. I didn't even think that was possible.
Well, I certainly didn't think it was possible. I know it happens with commodities from time to time, but we go back to the beginning of March, and industry wasn't. We're kind of going along. And we found some stability, which is nice, which is allowing us to make some investments. And then, the Saudis and OPEC come together and say, you know what? We're ready to wage war on the U.S. producers again. We're going to go to our corners. We're going to flood the market with oil, and we saw the price crumble by 33% over a weekend. And then right on the heels of that is COVID, and the world starts shutting in their governments, and global demand plummeted, by as much as 30% over the month of April and into May.
So how has that affected our oil field in Louisiana? I mean, are we seeing wells shut in and crews being told stay home?
No, absolutely. I mean, as soon as the first crash hit, companies started making adjustments, and we saw immediate reactions, and that was before PPP and all that was coming out. And they started reducing their workforce and started taking plans. And then, once really the storage issue came about, and they knew that they didn't have a place to produce, and prices kept going from 30 to 25 to 20 to 15 to negative 37 at one point in time, they had to start laying people off and shutting in wells.
That is not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing for the energy industry, and it's not a good thing for Louisiana. So much of our economy depends on the oil and gas industry, from workforce and labor, but also from severance taxes that are generated by producing wells that fund healthcare and education and higher ed and all of the important services that we have in the state.
Let's get to Senate Bill 359, which I need to update myself on its status right now, but it seems to be moving forward.
Well, it was moving forward, and the legislative process is it's not always pretty. And unfortunately, earlier this week, when the bill was up for debate on the Senate floor on Monday, A fiscal note showed up on the bill that wasn't a new one. We already had one, and we had a second one that relied on some public testimony that was reported in a newspaper article to say that it was going to have a huge cost to the state, and that required it to go back to another committee hearing in the Senate. And yesterday on the Senate floor, when it got out of committee and was going to be up, the author returned the bill to the calendar and made a very passionate statement of why he believes the legislation was so important, but because of the timeline that we're in from a shortened session and now the dual referral and the fiscal note, that he wasn't going to be able to move forward with it.
So it's a moot point for this session.
It is a moot point for this session. Senator Sharon Hewitt has a resolution, SCR 7, that was working along with that legislation that is really asking the parishes to drop the lawsuits because of the negative impact that they're having on our economy. But Senate Bill 359, which puts the state in the its proper role where it always has been and always should be, enforcing its own permits, that bill, unfortunately, for session has been put aside.
Any indication? I'm sorry, Bill. Any indication that it will be back in a future session?
We are hopeful, and we're working with legislative leadership. We know there's going to be a special session. They're talking about the budget right now, and I think Commissioner Darden just said in the Appropriations Committee that he's expecting for there to be a special session. That we're hearing may start as early as June 8th. I know that there's a lot that legislative leadership wants to bring into that session, other topics to be able to jumpstart the economy. We certainly hope that tort reform broadly and specifically our issues will be part of that call. And there's a lot of talk about another special session sometime in October or November, just because again, no one likes special sessions, but taxes, right? Absolutely. The uncertainty that we're dealing with right now with our economy, I think it's tough being in the oil and the gas industry and representing this industry right now because of the challenges we face. But I couldn't imagine having to sit down and craft a budget when the restaurant industry has been shut down and every business and people are staying at home, and then no tourism. How do you even craft something?
Oh yeah, and you've got people like Mayor Cantrell that basically pronounced no tourism, our biggest industry, for the rest of the year in New Orleans. I mean, it makes it very, very hard to budget.
Yes, it does. And look, for the oil and gas industry, that's not good news. We need people traveling. We need people, driving around the country. We need them getting on planes. We need them getting on cruise ships. And if they can't come to New Orleans, that's a huge draw and obviously helps with the overall consumption of energy.
I think this is the right number. I'm sure you can correct me, but 67% of all refined crude oil goes into transportation use.
Correct, and I think that, depending upon what you consider transportation, that's a pretty fair, accurate number.
Now, I'm thinking automobiles and their lubricants, trucks, buses, airplanes. Actually things that moving livestock.
We put a lot of fuel on boats here in Louisiana, and so that's certainly a part of it. And then you got your bigger ships and your cruise ships. So yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask this, because I've been watching this probably not as well as Kevin, but let's just say the bill were still alive.
Okay.
And the question is, it doesn't make lawsuits go away. It doesn't really reduce any kind of liability for damage that people perceive was made by digging or trenching or whatever under the permit they were given. So the company is going to get sued either way. What difference does it make who sues you?
Yeah, so if we just look at the legislation, right, the history of the Coastal Zone Management Act is there's issues of local concern. So if you've got like a camp or you're putting in a dock at your house, that's not something the state needs to be involved in and local government should be able to handle. For the oil and gas industry, we're talking about issues of state concern. You could have pipelines going across multiple parishes, oil fields crossing multiple parishes. Those are issues of state concern. So when you go get a permit, you go to the state and you get your permit. It's never before been in any part of law or practice that local governments would be enforcing state permits. And for 33 years, local governments never tried to enforce a state permit. They never said, hey, state, they're not doing what they need to do. Can we do something about it? Or, send a demand letter? None of that ever happened. It wasn't until this small group of private plaintiff lawyers convinced local government that there's a pot of gold at the end of the lawsuit rainbow that all of a sudden local governments are now trying to enforce these permits.
But in all fairness, wasn't it part of their argument, these lawyers, that the state's not likely to sue anytime soon? So if you want anything, you better go after it yourself.
Well, and if they want to encourage the state to sue, then they can do that. That doesn't change whether or not they had the right to do it in the first place. And they don't have the procedures in place. They don't have the scientists in place. They don't have the ability to be able to enforce these permits. So if you just take away the lawsuits for a second, this is a permanent position that the parishes put themselves in. So if I'm an oil and gas company now, given that if these lawsuits are allowed to stand, and I want to go drill a well in Vermilion Parish, not only do I have to get my permit from the state and get the state to sign off on it, I now have to go to the police jury, and ask them to sign off my permit that it's complete. Well, they may not agree with the state. And then I got to go to the district attorney, who's probably prosecuting the criminals, because that's what district attorneys do. And I got to go ask the district attorney, and he may not agree with the police jury or the state. So you have this multiple overlapping confusion of who the right enforcement agency is. And look, our industry, we need predictability. We're investing millions of dollars, and if we don't know who we're supposed to be working with and who we're supposed to be getting our enforcement from, it makes it very difficult.
Well, let me ask you this. It doesn't sound like you're asking for any change in the permitting process and the remediation if something occurs. You're not asking for that.
Absolutely not. And we're not. There is no immunity for industry in this whatsoever. If we have permits that we violated, if we did actions that we didn't get permits for, we absolutely should be held accountable. And this bill does not take any of that away.
Well, if it's a state permitting process, I don't understand how a parish police jury can even prove they've got jurisdiction to sue.
That's what the lawsuits are all about, and they've taken this part of the statute and they've interpreted it in their favor to say that we have the right to sue. And really, they're walking around and they've been talking about this $100 million settlement that doesn't exist, that the parishes don't want, the legislature just killed. But local governments see this as a pot of gold right now.
And another, if it were to pass scenario, who would be the plaintiff? Would it be Natural Resources? Would it be Ag and Forestry? Would it be CPRA, Coastal Protection Restoration Authority? Who would be the agency coming after?
Well, so as of right now, in all of the lawsuits, the state has intervened through the Department of Natural Resources.
Okay.
The Attorney General has intervened, and the Governor has intervened. So if the bill was passed, the parishes would be dismissed from the suit, and the Attorney General, the Governor, and DNR are all plaintiffs in the suits, and the suits continue in the exact posture they're in today.
We've got to take a break. This is fascinating because I think there's going to be a lot more wrangling that we are all going to be aware of when this comes back. We will continue with Gifford Briggs, who is the president of the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. Stick around.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvant.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Clarence Bug Show. Yeah, I'm back on the air. That's right, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Monday and Wednesday, and we replay it Monday and Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight. Check us out online. You can watch it live at PelicanSportsTV.com, or better yet, why don't you just download the Pelican Broadcasting app? That way you can take it with you anywhere you go. That's right, the Clarence Buggs Show. Tell you what. Oh, wait, gotta run. Gotta go. Bye.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Exiles TV returns. I'm Kevin Gallagher, Bill Profito over there, and in the center chair is Mr. Gifford Briggs. He's the president of the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, also euphemistically known as LOGA.
There you go.
We're talking about now the bill, for all practical purposes, is for now. It's been returned to calendar by its sponsor, author. So it's kind of a moot point, but I don't think that you're done with this subject matter. I mean, you got people that want to come after the oil and gas industry for ecological damage, and I don't think they're going to relent. So what's next?
Yeah, no, listen, these lawsuits that we're facing that have been going on since 2013 aren't going away anytime in the near future. They're going to continue to be litigated, likely for decades, which really is only going to have a negative impact on Louisiana.
Why would it take decades?
Well, because you're talking about one very complex issues, and so it's not, there's a lot of talk about car wrecks and that insurance. Those are a little bit simpler. You're looking at complex litigation issues that in some cases obviously go back to the 1980s, whenever the Coastal Zone program was put in place. But some of the impacts that the lawyers are saying, well, they went back to 1918, and so when you're looking back a century,
that's a hell of a burden to prove.
It is, but
yeah.
And so because of that, and because of all the issues and the motions in the industry, we're going to fight these. I know that they keep trying to say that there's a settlement right around the corner, and that's what they use to try and get people on board, but there's no settlement coming.
How would you even quantify the settlement?
Well, they quantify it however they want. Whoever comes to the table first to give us a bunch of money. And look, they had this alleged settlement with Freeport that required 12 parishes to sign on. Mm-hmm. Well, only 6 parishes had even filed the suit. So now they're making settlements for parishes that hadn't filed the suit. It required legislation to be enacted. It wasn't enacted. It required parishes to sign on board. And Terrebonne Parish and Lafourche Parish president said, we're not signing settlements. So, realistically, this is going to go on for a very, very long time.
I don't like this clawback decades in filing your lawsuit. I find it very unseemly. There are things that we know now that we can address now and maybe 10 years in the past or when the permit was issued. I don't agree that you go after Gulf Petroleum for something that happened in 1918. Any more than I agree that you go after Monsanto for an asbestos product that everybody put into their buildings, both private and municipal, in 1935 and 40. I just don't think that's right. I don't think it's fair. But you are going to have to address each of these individually, aren't you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, every single permit will have a burden of proof that they're going to look at, and each company's going to have to put on their own defense. You're talking about 218 named defendants right now, all having to litigate their issues separately. And look, going back 30 years to say that this permit was violated it's unacceptable. It's like changing the speed limit and saying, you know what, we realize you shouldn't have been going 45 miles an hour, so everyone that's ever driven on the highway is now getting a ticket. And you do what you're supposed to do at the time, you follow the rules you're supposed to follow, and then, Louisiana court system allows you to come back later on and file lawsuits.
I have to ask you this, and I'm going to disclaim that it's not coming directly from me. I was asked to ask you this question. One of the sources that I've heard this from several times has been Foster Campbell from the Public Service Commission.
Oh, my good friend.
The question is this. The oil and gas industry promised to clean up after themselves, and they haven't done it. What's the reply?
Well, I mean, look, that's a very broad statement, and you know, I think those are you have to look at each individual permit, promise to clean up himself. I mean, you know, the industry needs to do what we're supposed to do. We need to hold ourselves accountable, and if there's an individual permit, or if there's a spot that we didn't do what we're supposed to do, there's administrative procedures in place. You know, if a parish doesn't think that we followed through with the permit, they can call the Office of Coastal Management right now, say, we don't think they followed through with this permit. There can be an investigation and a compliance order, and we get the problem fixed in 90 days. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is using broad litigation, right, who's really the only beneficiary of the kind of lawsuits we're talking about are the lawyers that are involved, wanting multi-billion dollars in contingency fees, and it's not really about the coast, because if it was about the coast, it was about improving the environment, it was about the oil and gas industry, as Foster Campbell says, taking care of something they cause. There are processes in place that don't benefit the lawyers, that protect the state, and we're not using those processes.
Let me ask you this as our time goes down. We got about 4.5 minutes left. How much of this would be a large issue if it weren't for the BP experience? I mean, British Petroleum, I think that they acted very nobly. I think they said, you can see it. You can see it on video. We had
but
a
it
great
colored
big
our
blowout.
impression of the industry.
Well, it colored, and I'm going to borrow your term, the pot of gold type of thing.
Right.
I mean, BP wrote an awful lot of checks, and they said, we don't care if some people that really weren't directly impacted get them. We want to show that we're trying to be good neighbors, and we want this to go away. And I think, as noble as I thought they were with that, and they had much deeper pockets than a lot of the companies, you know, that are in your trade association, I think it's set an environment, as you put it, there's a pot of gold in petroleum, so you get a whole bunch of lawyers and they throw something at the wall to see what sticks. Some of it's true, some of it isn't, and I think it's changed the climate, particularly for juries.
Well, you know, first of all, BP did. They stepped up after that and said, look, we're going to do everything we can to make it right. If anyone would have asked for a company under that circumstances, if you dreamed out what would you do to make it right, BP did everything they possibly could to make the best out of the situation.
Argument from me.
And so, you know, that part aside, look, the issue with BP and what happened with Macondo is not why we're dealing with the coastal lawsuits that we're dealing with today. The coastal lawsuits, the lawyers that are involved have been suing the oil and gas industry over environmental issues since 2003. They have this one law firm has over 250 environmental suits.
Wow.
And the reason that we have those in Louisiana is because one, the laws that we have are set up in a way that provide these jackpot lotteries for them whenever they file the suits, that we've got a judicial system that allows for and encourages these types of lawsuits. You go to Texas, it's not like the oil and gas industry isn't in Texas. We have way more wells being drilled and activity than we have here. They don't have this lawsuit issues that we do. You go to Mississippi, oil and gas activity, they don't have the lawsuits. Oklahoma, New Mexico, North Dakota. It's because of the laws that we have in place. It's because of the judicial system that we have in place that we're having these jackpot lotteries that are encouraging these lawyers to continue finding ways to press on the industry. And when they're done with us, they're going to go to someone else. And they're going to go after the petrochemical industry, or they're going to go after the restaurant industry. They will find a way. I've talked to a friend the other day. These same lawyers that are coming after us are now coming after the construction industry for work that was being done on roads. And so, you know, it's until we do, as you know, our friends talk about broad-scale tort reform that go well beyond, you know, the auto insurance industry, which is extremely important, House Bill 418 or Senate Bill 418 by Kirk Talbot, but into much broader tort reform the way Texas did. We're going to continue to see the challenges that we're facing.
Well, we certainly appreciate the information you've purveyed to us today. There's a lot more to this than I think meets the eye if you just read the digest in the legislature or the newspapers. And we do appreciate you, and we'd love to have you back again, particularly if this comes back up in a special session, or maybe before, just to kind of give us an update on how oil and gas in Louisiana is doing, if you wouldn't mind doing that.
No,
with
no,
us.
I would love to do it. Maybe next time I can get all the way up to the table here. We'll be
Yeah, we
past
won't
it.
have to
We will
social-
be
There will
past
come-
our
there will come a
COVID-19.
time where you'll get to slide up to the table.
Yeah, hopefully everybody will be sitting in the same plane.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to
And
do
we'll
it.
be shaking hands aside. The bumping of the elbows
Boom,
is
boom.
not good for
Yeah,
me.
we have our.
I mean, I'll do it.
I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger.
Exactly.
so-
I'm a hugger and a handshaker.
Our no middle seat type of thing, a la United Airlines, will get everybody back into the middle seat. Again, he is Clifford Briggs.
Gifford.
Excuse me, Gifford
That's
Briggs.
okay. Not the first time that I've
Yeah.
heard
Yeah.
that.
And I would assume that people can find out more by going to loga.org.
No, www.loga.la. We got that LA extension there at the end. On Facebook, social media, Twitter, we're all over the place.
Thank you for being with us. We're coming
Right.
up to our top of the hour break. Exiles Hour number 2 is coming up in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent.
Depend on us for service, for selection, for price.
Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita. He's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
This is Exiles TV.
If only you could hear the conversations that go
Oh
on.
yeah, I
I'm
hope.
so glad you can.
I hope they're not running. I hope they're not running tape in the back of the things we say when we're in the breaks,
It's called evidence.
because we do name names.
We're glad to have you with us. We're going to talk a little bit. You know, this is an election year. It's an important election year. We got not only electing a new president or re-electing the existing president, which I think we know how that's going to go, but we've been surprised before. As you and I were together on election night in 2016, and I was absolutely gobsmacked, flabbergasted. I did not expect Donald Trump to win that
The
election.
only one that was more surprised, because if you remember, the only one that was more surprised was Donald Trump.
It was a shocker, and you never know. So stranger things could happen than we elect a creepy Uncle Joe. But we also have important local elections going on all over the state of Louisiana. And we're going to be talking about elections. We're going to talk about polling, voter trends, mail-in voting, and other election-related topics with John Couvillon with JMC Analytics and Polling.
The
He's gonna be-
Couvillon will be with us. Hey, Marty, our countdown clock isn't
In a few
counting
minutes.
down. It's just sitting there.
Which we'll take that 6 minutes in perpetuity, my friend. 6 minutes from now? Okay, you got it. He's like, sure, whatever.
Now. Push button.
Here in Baton Rouge,
make numbers change.
There is a local matter that came to our attention just yesterday morning with a headline in the Baton Rouge Advocate. And I think it's of interest to other people in other cities because the same thing could be alleged or could be happening in your city. We've got a veteran police detective who's been with the force for 30 years.
Yeah.
And he has filed suit against the chief of police in Baton Rouge, alleging unfair treatment in promotion. And he alleges that he was the top tester for a captain job that had come up. And the way that procedure goes with the police union and internal rules is that whoever tests at the top is...
Well, it's actually the civil service rules.
Civil service rules. If you test at the top for for a promotion, then you're the guy who gets it. But he says that didn't happen.
Well, and there's more to this. And if you remember, I guess it was 2 years ago, the at that time new police chief, Chief Paul,
Murphy Paul is the police chief here in Baton Rouge,
asked for the department to have more discretion in promotions. He wanted to not just go by the old civil service rule of, okay, you scored in the top 5 on the test, you've been here the longest, you're the one that's going to get promoted. He wanted to have some discretion for the ranking officers, for, I guess it's lieutenants, captains, and then you get into the majors and all that. And a bill was passed through the legislature that allowed just that. But it didn't allow it until March 31st of this year. So it didn't allow it up until a month and a half ago, give or take, to be in effect. And now you still have to take the test, and you still have to rank in the top 5, but you go before a board that is comprised of one of the deputy chiefs, and there are 3 deputy chiefs in BRPD, an officer from another law enforcement agency that is not here, and then the Magnolia Police Officers Association, which is a traditionally black police officers group, much like the Fraternal Order of Police. Now, the article in The Advocate by Lee Skeen was very good. It was published yesterday, so you can find it online, I'm sure. It points out that this particular promotion was due to happen before the 31st of March. It was due to happen on March 3rd. And the whole point, and they did get a restraining order, by the way, from a judge to stop any motion.
Right now there's a hiring and promotion freeze.
Yeah.
Baton Rouge Police.
And they're going to have a hearing on it tomorrow, but the point was, you can't follow the rules that took effect on March 31st with something that was supposed to happen on March 3rd. And so this is going to be a very interesting thing to watch. And as Kevin pointed out, other large municipal police departments are going to be watching this as well to see whether the court does come down on giving the administration of the police force more power over civil service, because most police forces, civil service reigns just as if you were working in DPW, or in the Department of Insurance.
Well, in most government agencies, there is a process, and a promotion process. And in a lot of places, you have to show proficiency, and they have set rules as to who gets the promotions. A lot of government agencies don't make it just up to the whim of whoever runs the agency, who he or she wants to promote.
Well, and then we get into the other question. Everybody complains about government. It is a national sport. And we often direct our complaint at employees of the government. Oh, they're so lazy. They're,
entitled.
And we have gotten better about not directing that toward police officers and firefighters. But there was a time when, that sergeant is so lazy, he sits around, smokes cigarettes, and eats donuts all day. We don't do that anymore. But the question is, do you, as the taxpayers who support these police forces, do you want civil service and a clear path to somewhat automatic promotion out of the picture? And do you want the chief executives of these departments to have more power to make those decisions in the absence of civil service. And this is something, if you watch police officers, I don't care what city you live in, and you wonder how they got promoted, that's civil service. Do you want the chiefs to have more power? I personally believe that the testing and the civil service and the experience part of the program is on point. But I know there are people that don't trust civil service. So do you trust the police chief more?
It's a good question. Anyway, there is a hearing this Friday. We'll see what happens with that. Meanwhile, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This is Exiles TV.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
That's right, the Clarence Buggs Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Welcome back to Exiles TV, round two. Glad to have you with us in the first quarter of the second hour.
Every time I hear that music, Chicago, I always wanted to be able to play the horn. Never a woodwind. It was always a brass instrument. Mm-hmm. But I just never had the wind for it, the pure ability to generate wind out of my lungs for it.
I had some very close friends that were horn players. And we used to do a gag thing with my band where we would all change instruments and finish out a song on different instruments.
Yeah.
And so all I had to do was play, about 16 bars on the trumpet.
Could you?
It took them about 8 weeks to teach me how to do that. It ain't easy playing a horn. It is not easy. Unless you're leading a second line, because then you can basically just sound like rhinos farting and everybody thinks it's funny.
Big respect, though, for the... Big respect, though, for the horn bands. Chicago, the Tower Power, Earth, Wind, and Fire
Blood,
bands like
Sweat,
that.
and Tears.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears was another great band that never got the respect that they deserved.
Tower of Power, I think, had the very best. Although the Ides of March, and then they went on to become Survivor. That was a small horn section, but they just kicked ass. You listen to the first 8 bars of Vehicle.
Which you can every time the Clarence Buck Show comes on this station.
Your hair will get blown back. You know,
How many people thought that was Blood, Sweat, and Tears when they first heard that song?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jim Petterick had kind of a David Clayton Thomas vibe going on.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Big raspy,
Raspy, yeah.
And I think a lot of people assumed that was a Blood, Sweat, and Tears song.
But yeah, I do like the old horn bands. If Tower of Power ever comes anywhere within 500 miles, I want to go see them. I have never gotten to see them.
I had the privilege of the only time I ever saw, and they were hot back in the 80s, Huey Lewis and the News. Saw them with the Tower of Power horns, and that was one hell of a show. Karen
went to that show.
That was just an amazing show.
Karen went to that show. I didn't get to go. There was one ticket that they offered, and it was a bunch of ladies that were all going. And Karen said, "Well, should I go?" And absolutely, she loved it. It was a great show. Huey Lewis and the News, backed by the Tower of Power horns.
Good stuff. So, what else is going on in the news? Well, we've heard that the president said we discussed farming with Avery Davidson on Tuesday's program. $16 billion coming from the federal government for farmers and ranchers. It remains to be seen how that's going to be parceled out and what are farmers and ranchers going to have to show as far as losses. Will there be some benchmark of losses in order to qualify for any of that money? Because $16 billion will go fast.
Well, it's very interesting, with the federal crop insurance and all that, and the federal limits on planting and all that to try to keep the markets balanced. This one is probably going to have the most stringent of all. I don't think I think it's going to be really black and white when you, as the farmer, put your paperwork in. I wonder if we're going to have the same type of problem. I wonder if the big agribusiness companies are going to get in on this and kind of suck all the financial air out of the room. Because, I mean, you've got some huge agribusiness concerns, and they plant more acres than even the biggest of the mom and pop farmers in the aggregate. So how, I think, is the real question.
Yeah, is it going to be divided up in a fair manner? The first round of the regular stimulus package, it's been criticized because so much went to big businesses who didn't necessarily have profit loss issues because of COVID-19 yet. And the idea of the money was, we're going to give this to Americans who don't know where they're going to get their next toilet paper or if they can get it, or are concerned with just making the groceries next week.
But again, all of these companies, large and small, have got one thing in common: overhead and payroll. And while I don't think it's fair to say we're bailing out Kevin's broadcasting company because he has no cash reserves, but even though you work in the same market, we're not going to bail out Bill's, broadcasting company because you have cash reserves. I don't think it's fair to ask a company to absolutely bankrupt themselves before you help them.
I follow your train of thinking there. But also, like I said, what about the millions that were given to companies who really weren't having any trouble whatsoever? I mean, we know that millions have been, and we know that, Nancy Pelosi's most recent, the round 2 was like $3 trillion. And if you just look at the pork, the stuff that's not related, I mean, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Endowment for the Humanities, Planned Parenthood, just questionable places to be pumping money in a federal stimulus package when what it's supposed to be is to help businesses and individuals be able to ride this thing out.
Well, see, now, and again, one of the things that I don't know if it happened by accident or if it was planned in, but for example, you heard about big restaurant companies. Ruth's Chris is a good example. They gave their money back because that big federal boost in unemployment money took care of their employees better than they would by keeping them on the payroll.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that happened by accident or if that was planned, but that's a good reason for a large company to not accept the money.
The payroll protection, what do they call it, PPA, PPP? PPP. The problem that a lot of companies had with the PPP was they didn't have employees as you would know them. A lot of companies have started hiring people on a contract basis, where you actually are a subcontractor working for them for a flat rate. And if they weren't payrolled employees, you didn't get any money for them.
Well, there's more levels of paperwork. It gets terribly complicated. But anyway, we're going to see what happens. Trump says he's against continuing that extra $600 a week on unemployment for another couple months.
How much longer should it continue now the businesses are opening?
That's a lot of money.
Yep.
People laughed at the $1,000 a month. Well, that extra $600 a week comes out to $3,000 a month, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Exiles TV.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hello. Hola. 你好.
Experience what the Baton Rouge International School can offer your children. Now welcoming displaced students for short and long-term stability.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Clarence Bud Show. Yeah, I'm back on the air. That's right, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Monday and Wednesday, and we replay it Monday and Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight. Check us out online. You can watch it live at PelicanSportsTV.com, or better yet, why don't you just download the Pelican Broadcasting app? That way you can take it with you anywhere you go. That's right, the Clarence Bud Show. Tell you what, oh, wait, gotta run, gotta go, bye.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Cantea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Hi, it's Exiles TV. Glad to have you with us, and thank you for tuning in once again. He's Bill, I'm Kevin, and we got a visit coming up from our friend John Couvillon, who's a pollster and political analyst. His company's JMC Analytics and Polling.
Now, did I hear correctly that the Senate did not go along with Kyle Ardoin's election plan for the fall? Did I hear that correctly?
I didn't hear that. I heard that the Senate did not give a warm reception to Representative Mandy Landry's wide open mail-in ballot bill. Representative Landry is from uptown New Orleans. She replaced Walter Leger III in the legislature. And let's just say that where Walter was looked at as a somewhat centrist Democrat that could work across the aisle, she is not by reputation. But she's also very new. She's brand new to the legislature.
Oh, Mandy, you came and you gave.
I don't want to be, but I, if I'm correct, I hope I'm correct on this. And if I'm not, please correct me. There's the number right on the screen. But I believe that Kyle Ardoin's one shot for the COVID virus, opening up mail-in ballots to just a few more people than it already does.
Yeah.
I believe that's still moving forward. But hers was just mail-in ballot, anybody who wants to. We're going to send one to every home. We'll send 2 or 3 to every home. Vote early, vote often. Other states that have done this, by the way, have already found duplicate ballots. They found the same address with as many as 4 different names at the same mailing address.
This always amazes me that these people think that they are somehow going to benefit by sending out tons of mail-in ballots. Everybody knows you got to have dead people voting to make it work.
I understand absentee voting. I understand the need for it. I've got a relative who is a shut-in. Going to the polls is not, it's not a practical thing for her to go to the polls. So she takes advantage of a mail-in ballot. I understand that need. But the most of us can make our way to the polls, and yeah, we could stand in line, and yeah, we could stand in line 6 feet apart. My polling place is right up the street here, and it always, especially for early voting. Well, okay, it's not right up the street. It's at Woodlawn Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
But for early voting, it's right up the street on Coursey Boulevard, and they move them through. They move them through, and I have utmost confidence that they'll continue to do that. And we could stand 6 feet apart, and if you can stand in line at Walmart, you can stand in line at the polls. Come on.
Well, I mean, the whole idea that you can perpetuate a fraud by mail that is actually meaningful and you get away with it died about 6 months after the Kennedy-Nixon presidential election, when Mayor Daley had half the people in Mount Carmel Cemetery voting for John Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are people that actually will sneak in a few fraudulent votes, but it is not big enough to make a significant difference, particularly in a big election, because there are too many people that remember that and are suspicious. And I mean, it's like Bodie White says, you know, you get off a bus and you're all wearing matching T-shirts and you come to the Capitol. I'm not listening to a thing you're saying. Somebody who is brand new to the legislature and wants to send out mail-in ballots.
He didn't say he didn't listen. He said you lose a little credibility.
Yeah, you don't listen. You know, come on, you don't listen.
Former senator.
Listen more to people who are doing 19 thanks. But, you know, you get a brand new state representative from uptown New Orleans who says, let's flood the market with mail-in ballots. It's never going to fly, Orville. It's just not.
I've just always felt that the two things that some people of a certain political stripe ask for a lot are more mail-in ballots and no ID voting. And I think my feeling on that personally is the only reason you would propose such a thing is because you favor some form of voter fraud. You think it's going to benefit you, your party, or your candidate. Especially no ID, not having to show an ID when you vote. Come on! If I want to cash a check, I've got to show ID. I should have to show.
Pick up my prescriptions. I got to show ID.
I should have to prove my identity. If I want to buy Claritin D, out comes the driver's license. So yes, I'm sorry. If you don't have positive proof of ID, you should not be allowed to vote. Period.
Well, it occurs to me that the arguments they use is you're disenfranchising these people by requiring them to have a driver's license. It doesn't say driver's license. It says identification. And it just happens that the most prevalent form of identification is a driver's license.
Can anybody help me out? How much does a state ID cost if you don't? Because I don't drive.
I think it's like $11.
I don't drive.
And it's good for 5 years.
Because many states provide you with an official state ID free of charge.
Yeah.
Because you're disenfranchised.
But, I mean, they will take a picture ID as long as it matches your name on the voter rolls and the voter registration card. They'll take a picture ID from your workplace in most cases if you happen to lose your driver's license. I mean, it's asking for identification, but
just prove you are who you say you are.
The thing is, a lot of these politicians never realize that they cannot continue making these goofy claims and still have credibility. You know, I think that's a big part of it. We are going to have more for you in just a moment on Exiles TV. We're going to our break, and we'll be right back. Stick around.
Bellelo's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent.
Depend on us for service, for selection, for price.
Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bellelo's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
That's right, the Clarence Buggs Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
glad to have you along with us this morning as we get into our final half hour of jocularity. Kevin Gallagher, Bill
Jocularity.
Jocularity.
You just wanted to use that in a sentence.
Yeah. I have a little itch, and I thought, never mind. But anyway, joining us is political analyst, pollster, and demographer John Couvillon with JMC Analytics. That is his company. And John is a really good numbers guy when it comes to elections. And John, I would think this year has made it a lot more difficult for you to do your job.
Yes and no. The big change is not only the fact that you've had a lot of elections that have been postponed, and in our case, repeatedly postponed, but there's been a lot of inconsistency as to voter turnout. And given that mail-in voting has surged in popularity this year, that also means you don't exactly have instantaneous election results anymore. Because, just to give you a perfect example, Ohio, where they switched to all mail for their April 28th primary, all of a sudden they got this deluge of mail-in ballots that takes time to count. So you don't exactly have election results available within a couple hours. So that is something that will be an issue here and elsewhere in the nation.
Do you think the system, which is a temporary system, that the Secretary of State's office proposed, will make it go somewhat smoothly in Louisiana this fall?
A lot depends to me on the extent to which you are permitted to cast a mail-in ballot in November, because you'll remember when they changed the law for the rescheduled primary that will be in July and in August, that there's a limited number of excuses that can be used. But given that you have, number one, a limited number of excuses, and number two, these are not statewide elections, but just a lot of local elections, as well as some parish executive committee elections for the Democrats and Republicans. This is not going to be a high turnout affair. What's going to really get interesting is if you have expanded mail-in voting in November, I don't think we'll necessarily have all ballots counted in 2 hours now.
Mm-hmm. That's going to profoundly change election night coverage.
Yes.
I might even say, why would you even want to bother with election night coverage if you're not going to have a clear winner?
Well, to me, when you talk about election night coverage, there's a couple aspects to it. The first is, obviously there's going to be some kind of statistical postings on the Secretary of State's website as to how many people are early voting and who early voted, so you can make some assumptions about what you think is going to happen. Now, we're not going to, if it is a close race, I think we would probably have to wait to make calls in some of these elections. But for a lot of them that I think are going to be blowouts, if you get a sufficient, because the thing I have done is if you have a sufficient number of votes that have come in, I'll call the race right away, such as at 8:05 p.m. when I called the race for Kyle Ardwan in the runoff. Mm-hmm. It was pretty obvious from the early voting that came in that was, in my opinion, representative of the population of Louisiana voters, that Kyle was going to win easily. And so I saw no point in making him wait for 2 hours to tell what was obviously going to happen. The governor's race, of course, as y'all remember, that one went down to the wire, and that was an entirely different animal.
True. But so you do think that largely, because that was going to be my next question, early voting is pretty fairly representative of how things are going to go in general.
It is. Now, in the old days, it wasn't, and the reason it wasn't was that typically what happened was before introduction of early voting about 15 years ago, you had to have all kinds of excuses to be allowed to absentee vote. That's the old system that Louisiana had. And in those cases, you had typically about 3% of the voters were voting absentee. That small of a sample, in my opinion, was not representative of the whole, because typically what you'd be talking about would be very, very chronic type of people or affluent people who perhaps might be out of town on election day or things like that. Whereas, to give the governor's race as an example of how things have changed, a third of the vote was cast before election day. And since that a third was fairly representative in terms of party and race and geography of the voting population in general, I felt comfortable making recommendations or calls on many of the races because that 33% was not substantially different than the other 67% we had to wait until after 8 p.m. to find out what was happening.
Let me ask you this. We should be entering huge fundraising time for political candidates.
Yes.
And the kickoff of the campaigns with the big rallies and tours and speeches and television ads hitting everywhere.
$1,000 a plate dinners.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of that is off the table now, and a lot of it might be off the table up until Election Day. First of all, is anybody raising any money substantially right now? Do they have the ability? Have these candidates developed what we like to call in the media the war chest?
Well, I think that there's a couple things going on here. The first is, of course, if you're an incumbent and you had been very diligent with your fundraising before March 15th, you're probably in pretty good shape. Now, the other side of the coin, and this is where it's getting more murky with regards to your question, is number one, we do not know the rapidity with which Governor Edwards is going to reopen things in early June and beyond. In other words, are we going to be in phase 2 in early June, or is phase 2 going to be mid-June, mid-July, or some other date? So that's one thing which I think is a big unknown, is how fast the rest of the rest of Louisiana is going to open up. The other is, and this is getting into a sensitivity here, is how well do you know these donors? In other words, if you're friends with them or have an established relationship, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with, say, calling that person to seek donations. But if you're talking about having some 250 or 500 person fundraiser, I mean, to me, until Louisiana's opened fully back up again, I don't see that as a practical thing, unless perhaps, this is kind of thinking out of the box here, let's say that whatever the capacity limit was for a venue, that you gave people, say, 30 or 45-minute appointments to see the candidates, and after their 35 or 40 minutes is up, they have to be shuffled out. You bring in a new one.
See that because you've got your chronic voters, your big, loud supporters who also write big checks. They want to grab that hand of yours, put that arm around your shoulder, and carry you off for 10 minutes of conversation, and they don't give a damn if that 35-minute window has expired.
Therein lies the problem.
And again, how much, just regular rallies, how much voting comes of, I went to a MAGA rally. I was 100 feet away from the president.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, does he lose votes because of that dynamic, that psychology? Or any candidate that has rallies and speeches.
You remember Trump's rally at the River Center in Baton Rouge in the 2016 campaign?
Oh, my God, it was huge.
It's the largest crowd ever put in that venue ever, and there's 5,000 people sitting outside.
Yeah, well, and that's going to be a very big change until arenas are opened up again, is the lack of that kind of campaigning. I'm of the opinion that for the foreseeable future, whether it be the next 2 weeks, next 2 months, or till the end of election cycle this year, this is going to be much more of a social media driven campaign, unless you want to do different types of things like, say, drive by to see the candidate. Again, it's not as effective from a numerical standpoint, but it is an evidence. It is kind of a symbol that you are trying to be accessible to the voters.
There is a razor's edge, too, and I'll give you two that I have known a long time and have personal experience with. I know Garrett Graves, the incumbent congressman from District 6, likes to campaign. He really likes to get out with people and have those one-on-one conversations and
He
pose
likes to
for
kiss
pictures.
hands and shake babies.
And Bill Cassidy likes to campaign.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's kiss babies.
And I think there's a razor's edge, because if they get out and campaign, you're going to have the Karens of the world saying, he's not respecting social distancing, he's trying to kill us all for the sake of winning his election. And you're going to have the people that are used to having Garrett and Bill and many others come and visit them, walk a neighborhood and all that, and they're not doing it. Do they not care about me anymore?
Yeah.
And then you get the personality of the candidate. Garrett, right where you're sitting, 4 weeks ago said, I'm kind of embarrassed to be campaigning real hard right now with all this suffering going on.
Now, you touched on a very interesting point, and I am deliberately going to go against the grain on that issue you just described. So you talked about Garrett Graves being embarrassed
to campaign when all this suffering is going on.
Yeah. But here's the thing about being embarrassed. I'm of the opinion, and this is me liking to break the conventional wisdom and rules and so forth. For the last 2 months, when all that we've seen on TV is nothing but coronavirus coverage day and night, quite frankly, something different like anything political, I think, would oddly get a bit of a reception in a way that it might not have before March 15th.
Well, you may have a point.
In other words, March 15th, March 22nd, March 29th, oh, absolutely, embarrassment. But I do think, and this is just kind of anecdotally looking at traffic volume in and around the Baton Rouge area, and I imagine elsewhere in the state as well, you'll notice how as time went on, particularly around May 1st, I noticed that there was a lot more traffic volume in and around Baton Rouge. That to me is a symbol of, regardless of Governor Edwards' extending the state's stay-at-home order, people basically started going about their daily lives again to the maximum extent allowed by the law. And even though, of course, phase one has all kinds of restrictions and, exceptions and this and that and the other thing, point is people are taking that as a symbol that, hey, things are starting to become normal again. So I don't think that it would be appropriate to worry about being embarrassed at this point, because here's the other thing that you have to consider. If a fear of embarrassment means that you wait to the very last minute to do any kind of campaigning, well, guess what? 95% of the other candidates on recommendation by their consultants are probably going to be waiting to the last minute as well, which means there's going to be a ton of noise and your message will not be getting out as effectively.
And there's that razor's edge I was talking about.
Yeah. It's a tricky one.
We got to take a break here. We're just seconds from a break, but when we come back, I want to explore, is the media going to be much more, and I don't mean the news media, I mean use of media, social and broadcast, going to be much more of a factor in getting elected this year because of the lack of social access. Okay. So we're going to take a break real quick. We'll take care of a little business. John Couvillon, JMC Analytics and Polling, is our guest. And how is COVID-19 going to affect the outcomes and the complexion of the 2020 campaign? That's on the way in just moments. Thanks for being with us. This is Exiles TV.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For Total Pest Control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Clarence Bug Show. Yeah, I'm back on the air. That's right, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Monday and Wednesday, and we replay it Monday and Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight. Check us out online. You can watch it live at PelicanSportsTV.com, or better yet, why don't you just download the Pelican Broadcasting app? That way you can take it with you anywhere you go. That's right, the Clarence Bug Show. Tell you what, oh, wait, gotta run, gotta go, bye.
Back. It's Exiles TV. There you are. There you are. I caught you. He's Bill. I'm Kevin, and our guest in center chair is John Couvillon. John is with JMC Analytics and Polling. He is a political analyst and does some very insightful polling on upcoming elections. I'll repeat the question that as I phrased it before the commercial. How much more is it going to be incumbent on, and pardon the use of the word incumbent, but incumbent on candidates to make use of broadcast media and social media because they can't get out and make those personal connections.
Particularly television, just like this.
Yeah, it becomes a lot more important because the reality is, I do think there's a fear about doing your traditional grassroots door-to-door campaigning because you don't know if you're going to be knocking on the door of somebody who is scared for his or her life in terms of there being virus transmission. So definitely some kind of contact with the average voter, whether it be social media or talking to the newspaper or doing digital ads or what have you, that to me is going to be a new norm this year.
Now, let's talk about some of the individuals that we know are in races.
Okay.
Just from this point forward, and bearing in mind that it may change, is anybody in trouble, any of the incumbents? Is Steve Scalise in trouble, for example?
I'll even go a step further and say I don't think any of the 6 congressmen are in trouble, whether it be Scalise or Cedric Richmond or Clay Higgins or Mike Johnson or Garrett Graves. They're pretty much in good shape. I mean, Clay Higgins, I know that he doesn't exactly please certain elements in his district, but the thing about him, he has that everyman appeal, which if he got nearly 60% of the vote against a super crowded field in 2018, this year with Donald Trump on the ballot and some of those would-be challengers realizing, I don't have the money or the wherewithal to wage a campaign, he'll be fine.
Let's just put it bluntly. The ULL intelligentsia hate him.
Right.
Both of them?
A lot of the other people over in that district love him. He's still the Cajun John Wayne to them. We have one wide open district, though. Ralph Abraham is stepping down from Congress. Have you looked at that district much?
So what's interesting about that district, there's really 2 subsidiary...
Which is 4, I believe.
5, the District 5.
5.
Yeah, it's a it has several components to it. It's not necessarily just a Northeast Louisiana district, even though that historically is where it's been based for years and years. Because after a couple of successive reapportionments, what's happened is that parts of St. Landry Parish have been put into the district, of Oils Parish is in the district, and a big swath of the Florida parishes is in the district. In other words, the moment you go north of Zachary, you're actually in the 5th Congressional District.
Rapides is in that district now, isn't it?
Yes. So point being is it's a sprawling district that covers several media markets, although realistically speaking, if you are spending money in that district, it would be very not advisable to spend money in the Baton Rouge or New Orleans media markets, which, believe it or not, the 5th Congressional District touches in because, of course, it has parts of Tangipahoa Parish, Feliciana's, et cetera, et cetera. So you have, getting back to the 2 subsidiary questions I have, number one is, will there be a viable Democratic contender? In other words, back in 2014, when Ralph Abraham was first elected, you did have Monroe Mayor Jamie Mayo, who was a black Democrat, who, by the virtue of the fact that you have a solid 35% voter base in that district, that's how he got into the runoff automatically. So a viable Democrat means that section of the vote is automatically spoken for, that 35 or so percent hardcore Democratic vote. That's an unanswered question, so I don't know if we're going to have, say, a legislator or a mayor running, or, say, somebody who barely has enough money for the qualifying fees, who probably by the virtue of the fact that he or she will be sharing a presidential ballot with the congressional race, there's going to be a hardcore Democratic vote that's going to go to that candidate. The other question, of course, is going to be, which kind of is tied into the first one, is you do have Luke Letlow and the police jury. Luke Letlow, who is Ralph Abraham's chief of staff.
He was, yes.
And he was ahead in the fundraising reports that were first released. He has competition from the police jury president of Ouachita Parish, a guy named Scotty Robinson, who I think he has connections with the Duck Dynasty people.
Yes.
You also have allegedly State Representative Lance Harris.
He certainly sounds like a candidate.
Right. Of course, Lance Harris's challenge is this. Number one is that he didn't file a finance report, so yes, he can self-fund, but the question is, can he self-fund in the $500,000 to $1 million range that I think is necessary to run in that district? Plus, of course, he's going to be tied down with legislative matters, definitely till the end of May, possibly till the end of June. We just don't know yet. But that means time he cannot be campaigning.
It would seem to me a June or July special session would be disastrous for his hopes to be
absolutely
a congressman.
Let's move on. Are there any states that you and your colleagues who do polling nationwide, and I know you do more than just local and statewide elections, are there any states that were solidly Trump states that may be in jeopardy this go-round in terms of the electoral votes?
Not solidly, but I think the states President Trump needs to be concerned about, there's several. Arizona, that's a biggie. I would say Georgia has the potential of being problematic for him, North Carolina, as well as the trio of Rust Belt states that he carried in 2016. I'm of the opinion that if you take those 3 states, that Michigan is probably the least likely one he'll carry. Pennsylvania in between, Wisconsin in between, but he can afford to lose one or so of those Rust Belt states. He cannot afford to lose all 3 unless he can pick up a Clinton state somewhere.
All right, so now we're talking national politics. We don't know for sure who Biden's running mate is going to be.
Right.
But it looks like he's leaning into Michigan. That is a lot of electoral votes that he did carry last time. If their governor gets on the Biden ticket, does that necessarily mean that she's going to carry that state for Biden?
Well, and that becomes an interesting point because I'm also of the opinion, too, that her draconian measures with regards to stay-at-home and arresting people and all that, I'm of the opinion that the further out that goes, because she has not demonstrated the necessary flexibility, that will be a political liability for her.
She seems very inflexible.
Yeah. I mean, let me put it this way. When you're talking about arresting barbers and multiple sheriffs saying they aren't going to enforce the law, that indicates to me that there need to be some rethinkings of the order, because even here in Louisiana, really the only rebellion you could say there was, other than Tony Spell, was West Feliciana Parish President Kenny Havard. But even
got
so,
clean away with it, by the way.
yeah, he basically he jumped the gun, but nothing ended up happening.
No fat chicks.
No fat chicks.
Yeah.
John, in our remaining 3 minutes, I want to ask about the U.S. Senate, because it only take the Democrats able to flip 4 seats, and they'd have a solid majority in the Senate.
Right.
Do you see that as likely in 2020?
It's possible that the Republicans could lose their majority in the Senate, yes. Arizona's a big trouble seat. I would say Georgia's problematic because you have a quasi-incumbent who foolishly decided to make a few stock purchases at the wrong time. You have North Carolina could be problematic. The only Democratic seat that I see, and then apparently the Republicans are about to drop, I think, $10 million into Montana because you have the Democratic governor is going to run for the Senate there, so that one could be a problem. The only seat I could see the Republicans picking off from the Democrats is the Doug Jones seat in Alabama, especially since a recent poll I saw showed Tommy Tuberville is way ahead of former incumbent Jeff Sessions.
Wow.
And it's basically a case of what I think happened was Jeff Sessions got on President Trump's bad side, and that is toxic when you're talking about a Republican primary electorate.
Right. Is this an anything can happen election year?
Talk about the U.S. Senate or Louisiana?
Any of them. The House, the Senate?
I think so, because one of the things I've seen, even though logically from looking at the data, I think President Trump is in deep trouble, there are several things which I think are wild cards that can benefit him. Number one, the velocity of the economic recovery, which we don't know about yet. Number two, the quality of Joe Biden's nominee. In other words, to what extent is he going to pander to the left wing to pick for his VP pick? Number three, Joe Biden really hasn't been road tested yet. He's been campaigning from his basement. And number four, I also think with President Trump that he's the type of person to where now that he himself is on the ballot, he's going to do whatever it takes to win. That's why I never count incumbents out, even though logically the data shows that he's in serious trouble.
Well, and I think it's wise never to count incumbents out. And again, the next couple months are going to be very, very critical, more critical, I think, for Donald Trump than Joe Biden.
And by the way, one thing which I think is newsworthy in the last couple of seconds I have was that upset the Republicans had in California.
Yes.
Because it was not a narrow win, and turnout was above what it was in the primary.
Now, real quick before we go, who is in line to run against Bill Cassidy, if anybody, at this point?
A gentleman named Antoine Pierce is the only one I've heard.
We've had Antoine Pierce on our radio show.
Yes, we have.
That's literally the only name I've heard. And the thing is, being that you have about, a month and a half till qualifying, I think the time has passed where you can have a credible campaign against Bill Cassidy.
There we have it. John Couvillon, JMC Analytics, his website, if you want to look at some of his articles and newsletters, winwithjmc.com, right?
Yes.
He has some very good analytical articles about the political world. As for Kevin and I, that puts a cork in it.
Put a cork in it.
So that we can go out and pull a cork. Yeah, it's true. We drink after we're done here. Wouldn't you?
Sometimes heavily.
Make sure you come back next week, and make sure you watch the replay, or at least tell your friends about it at 10 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, be well and be safe.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.